You're learning to be okay with being seen and not chosen. We're in a world that is full of instant feedback. There's a value behind content creation that goes beyond numbers and followers, and we have to talk about it. I've been creating content for the past 3.5 years, and I've recently become a social media manager, so content creation has essentially become both a hobby and a job for me, which means I've seen it from both sides. I'm the person who is sitting in front of a camera and recording content, but also the one who's behind the scenes, doing the planning and managing old pages. For a long time, I thought I was simply learning how to be more creative, to make my posts perform well, and to generally build a community. But I've realized that deep down, it was teaching me a new way to live. So today I want to share 5 lessons that I've learned from content creation that go simply beyond trying to go viral and build your follower count. Putting yourself on camera repeatedly means you're going to get scrolled past. People are going to see your videos, they aren't going to leave a like. You probably spend a long time making a piece of content and then you have 10 views, 3 likes. Sometimes you get a comment that stings, and you just have to learn to show up, because the more that you produce, the more that you create, the more you get used to it and you actually get the feeling of what it's like to create content. So what that really taught me is a kind of confidence that isn't necessarily attached to being liked. It's not about tying yourself to a number or to how much engagement you've gotten on a certain video, because there are so many times in our lives that we're going to be rejected, whether it is a job that we have applied to and we got no answers to, or dating that hasn't gone quite well. Those are the moments that you generally are seen and not chosen. And when you can take this learning and this growth outside the content creation bubble and apply into daily life, that is when I realize that the moments that you show up at work or in your studies or working out, or any moment that you feel like you would do better if you were just there, present and doing what you have to do, that is when the skill is revealed and even proven to you that you're doing something for a reason. And of course, speaking of growth doesn't happen in a straight line in social media, and that is a fact to anybody. Just like I mentioned previously, there's a piece of content that you spent 2 hours recording the voiceover for, getting the right thumbnail, you followed every step that a guru told you to follow, and still you're not quite there yet. But what is funny is that you don't really need this constant feedback and this constant sign that things are working behind the scenes for you to keep on showing up. You kind of learn to follow like a plan that you built, or to follow your intention truly, and that is what keeps you going no matter how things might not be working in the background. And honestly, this applies to so many situations. For example, exercising and working out specifically, you don't really see muscle growth so spontaneously or so quickly as you wish. You have to put in the work, and maybe like after a few weeks you'll see something growing here and there. And that is really about like trusting the process and understanding that there is growth and improvement happening, but you still can't quite see it in such a visual and big way that you want yet. What is interesting is that that is a skill that we aren't quite taught to work on, because whenever we post something, we get like a few reactions from it. Whenever we talk to someone about it, they respond in a way. So we're very much focused on the instant replies and instant feedback that we get. But I think that's the exact skill that you need for a job that takes months to be processed, or a university application that you sent and you have to wait for the results. So for the second lesson, it is truly about trusting the process of creating and becoming without needing a constant proof that things are working. The third one is something I'm actually insecure about sharing sometimes, and that is that I'm not the most confident person when it comes to speaking. And I don't know if it sounds like that or if you can see it through the screen, but I've had a really hard time in the past, and quite recently honestly, when it comes to thinking what I'm going to say and organizing my line of thought. I have generally been someone that has been trying to work on my communication for a really long time. I've been watching YouTube videos and trying to learn from other people that are really good communicators how I can speak in a better way. And you know what I noticed? Every single time that I was showing up on my Instagram stories to do chit chats, I'm speaking out loud on camera, in public, on the internet, and what is a better way for you to actually learn to speak better than to train it to constantly and daily, just like I've been doing? And somewhere in those hundreds of takes that I would do in every time that I would have to press the restart button, I realized that I actually got better at organizing my line of thinking, at making sure my ideas were on a clearer path than before. Another angle on this topic that you might not expect is that this isn't really about becoming just a better speaker. It's also about becoming a much better thinker in real time. So when you are in a meeting or talking to somebody and you try to make it clear to them what you're saying, when you try to make sense of something for somebody else, you really understand and you realize how much of it you've actually understood. And the next thing that I've learned from following people that talk a lot about speaking and communication is to know what you're going to speak before you even sit down and talk to somebody or press record on a camera. Because if you don't know what you're going to say, how can others capture the same message and idea that you're trying to share? You've also probably heard the word storytelling everywhere on social media, and the truth is, once you start content creating, you literally develop an eye for storytelling. As a book lover, I picked up this word or this concept on this book called Storyworthy by Matthew Dicks. But the truth is that I had already started living the concept before I even had a word for it. When you start finding small details in your routine, in the time that you spend with yourself and with others, you realize that this isn't just a content skill, but rather a closer eye, a closer look at the life that you're living. It is a way of paying attention to what you like for breakfast, at the things that you notice on the way to work, or the thoughts that you have about something that happened. It's literally the small things that you start noticing even more. I feel like so many of us go through our days just looking for the big events or the big things that happen, perhaps an approval of something or a big meeting, a celebration of a kind. And although those definitely matter, it is not so often that they happen if you really think about it. It's often the small things that are super ordinary that tend to improve our life quality and literally improve our routines. So content creation has generally stopped me from trying to find the perfect and curated moment to capture, to instead looking for what I already have in my home or in my room, in myself, to bring those things to life. And once you start collecting these small moments on purpose, I feel like life starts to feel a bit more full, or quite a lot more full, and it's just like it brings so much meaning to your days that I don't think other words different than storytelling would explain in a better way. This last one is about systems. Whether you like it or not, content creation or doing anything of the kind will have you establish systems. We're talking planning your content, making sure you're posting at the right time, testing different techniques, following tips, understanding what worked and what didn't. And I noticed that these exact systems and ways to organize things have kind of transcribed to my own personal life. I have become much more aware about my workout planning, my work structure, and how I choose to prioritize things. It's quite funny because most people think that being creative and being organized are completely different, that you can't have the freedom of creating if you're organized or vice versa. But they do go hand in hand because the system that you're building is there to support your creativity. So think of it as a way that holds your creativity instead of trapping it. These are only 5 things that I generally did not expect to learn within these years that I've been creating content, and honestly they can scale up to 10, but today I'm keeping it simple only with 5. If you're someone who's thinking about content creating and is afraid about the numbers and all the logistics behind creating content, I honestly would push back on that because there's so much that you can learn about yourself, about the way that you work, about the way that you organize yourself when you start doing it. And just a reminder that the numbers might come, they might not, but what will always be there is your wish to, first of all, show up for what you're doing and have an intention and have an open mind to all the things that you learn from it. If this resonated with you, please let me know in the comments and tap the follow button so you don't miss future content. Bye bye!